Fun fact. A friend of mine thinks that I am absolutely obsessed with Dua Lipa. So for my birthday, he gave me a mug with Dua Lipa printed on it. I cannot say that I am upset. I can do this. I know I can do this. The title of this video is not an exaggeration. It's a literal statement. And you might be thinking, well, why hadn't you taken vacations at all in the last 5 years? Are you a workaholic? And the answer is, well, sorta, but my lack of vacations were not due to that. The truth is that I couldn't take vacations unless I literally wanted to see my salary split in half. And if you have seen any of my previous videos, you might know that I am an immigrant and I came to Argentina when I was 20 years old by myself. So I had to pay for my expenses entirely by myself. And so having my salary split in half was really not an appealing idea. But it's now the present day, and I went to Chile for 3 weeks in the beginning of July, which is the reason why I didn't post anything in over a month. And in those 3 weeks, I took the first week of vacations in 5 years without having my salary affected at all. So today, I guess that I just want to kind of go over my experience as an immigrant in Argentina and why I hadn't been able to take vacations before and how that has changed to today. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Sabrina. I am a human based in Argentina, and in today's video, we are going to talk a little bit about how things change for immigrants throughout time. I guess that I just want to kind of evaluate my previous situation where I wasn't able to take vacations at all because my salary would be split in half, and then how I have gotten to the present moment where that is no longer one of my worries. And I guess I just want to do this because when people leave their countries, when they migrate to another place, they mostly just listen to people say how difficult it is when you leave your country, when you're in another place that it's completely new to you. So I just want to help people understand and know that yes, it is difficult. In the first few months, it's going to probably be very difficult, maybe even the first year. But the important thing will always be to make very little progress every time you can. And even if you don't see it in exactly the moment where you are making the progress, if you look at it with far enough away lens, you are going to see that progress. So I'm sharing my story with people who might also want to do the same, who might also want to leave their country to look for something better, in the hopes that they realize that progress is slow but steady and it's possible for them as well. So first, you might be wondering why I wasn't able to take vacations without my salary or my payment being affected. And that can be summarized in 2 simple words: independent contractor. There's like a barrier here. I'm pretty sure that I might have mentioned before that when I first came to Argentina, the job that I was looking for and the job that I got was as an English teacher, which really was always the plan. When I first decided to move to Argentina, I knew of a few ex-co-workers who were here already and they were working as English teachers and they were doing really well. So as soon as I got to the country, the first thing that I did was to look for a job as a teacher. What I didn't know at the moment was that teaching is a very seasonal job. You see, back in Venezuela, I used to work for an institute that all but guaranteed the hours that I was going to work each month. There was a period of time when the institute closed and I would be paid my vacations like all of the regular employees used to do. Here in Argentina, things are a little bit different. They are actually really quite different. There are hardly any institutes that would hire employees as part of their payroll under the same conditions that I had before. And the ones that do would have really crazy requirements for their teachers, regardless of how many years of experience you have under your belt. So no matter how much I wanted to apply to those institutes, they wouldn't have taken me either way. So I found work as an English teacher pretty fast, yes, but at these institutes, working as an independent contractor, you would have to invoice the institutes for the number of hours that you taught each month. So these pretty much explains why I wasn't even able to take a single day off, because it would impact my payment heavily at the end of the month. I was technically free to take vacations whenever and for as long as I wanted, as often as I wanted, but I wouldn't see that payment reflected in my paycheck at the end of the month. I would have a reduction in my payment. And these also applied to the summer months. Whether I was teaching in company classes or kids at the institute, about 50% of my students would take vacations between December and March, and I could see my paycheck cut in half for those months. So I was constantly in a state of trying to fill up my schedule with more and more classes so that I was able to save money to have some sort of cushion for those summer horror months. Now, don't get me wrong, when I first came to Argentina, I was determined to work any type of job simply because I knew that I needed to support myself, and the savings that I came with were very limited, which I have a video about that I will link in the description below in case you want to see it. So, working as an English teacher is actually one of the good jobs you can get as an immigrant. Whenever I spoke to people, everyone would say something like, wow, that's so impressive, because I used to have a good lifestyle. I was able to rent an apartment by myself, which not many people were able to do. I got this job without a university degree, which again, many people say that you absolutely need to have a degree before you move to another country, otherwise things are going to be super difficult for you. I was, by all intents and purposes, making it as an immigrant. But what they didn't see was the 14-hour workdays, the fact that I didn't have health insurance, or the fact that many banks didn't want to open a bank account for me because I was an independent contractor, or the fact that I didn't have a credit card until I got my permanent residence because I was considered a high-risk individual, which wouldn't have been the case if I had been under contract with a company. But I digress, because the biggest issue here was that with the increasingly deteriorating economic situation of the country, I had to take more and more classes in order to be able to make ends meet. Especially during the beginning of the pandemic, when we transitioned to working online and having online classes, I didn't have the travel time in between companies. So instead of taking that time to rest, I used it to fill up more classes. I didn't even have time to eat or pee in between classes. Continuing to teach was unsustainable. And you know what's also unsustainable? You not hitting the like button. But anyways, I was 23 years old and I didn't have experience working in anything other than an English teacher. And any job applications that I sent out amounted to nothing. And then 2020 happened. It was in the middle of the pandemic when remote work was booming, and many companies started to realize that there was so much more they could do if they started looking for their talent remotely, that I was able to transition from working as an English teacher to working remotely for American companies who realized there was a market of good talent overseas, especially, or more specifically in Latin America, that could fulfill their needs. This transition was not really easy. In the last 2 years, I have changed jobs more than I cared to do, especially because previous to this, I was the type of person who used to stay in their same job for at least 2 years. I was in the same English institutes for the whole 3 years that I had been in Argentina. Jesus. But it was the first time that I was actually working for a company as an employee rather than an individual who saw their bosses sporadically from time to time. And it was also the first time that I worked for American companies in general. All of this was even more stressful due to the fact that even though I was an employee, I was still, on paper, an independent contractor. So with all of these in mind, why did I decide to change jobs? Pretty simple. I was being paid my salary in dollars. I was able to say goodbye to the 14-hour workdays. My schedule didn't change like crazy. I didn't depend on my students canceling their classes. I had a fixed schedule, the so-called 9 to 5 that had eluded me in my so far short adult work life. But because my salary was being paid in dollars, I didn't have to worry, at least not so much, about the economic situation of the country because my salary would adjust right along. I was also able to save a lot more money, furnish my apartment, and buy the things that otherwise would have taken me years to be able to purchase. And I was also able to save enough money to bring my mom here to Argentina as well. And I am paying for her expenses right now. She's living with me right now and I'm paying for her expenses. So in short, working as an independent contractor for American companies gave me freedom of time and the ability to do many things that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise, like making these videos. And they also gave me paid vacations. So there's that. In the present day, 2 years after that transition started of working with American companies, I am finally in a place in my work life where I hope I don't have to change jobs for at least another 2 years. My coworkers are great, the work environment is nice, I feel appreciated and valued in my workplace, and I have the freedom of knowing that my bosses understand that I am a person who will sometimes need to go to the doctor, and a person who sometimes needs to take vacations. Which brings me to the first vacation that I took in over 5 years. And the reason why I spent over a month without posting anything on YouTube, regardless of whether I had several videos recorded already, editing them on my tiny laptop screen was basically impossible for me. But anyways, at the beginning of July, I went to Chile and I stayed there for 3 weeks, and I took 1 week of vacation, and I used that time mostly to spend time with my friends. I have a lot of friends in Chile that I don't see very often because we are not in the same country. And my best friend that I know since I was about 14 is there as well. So I am very happy whenever I can see him. So I used those 3 weeks to go shopping. I also went trekking for the first time in my life, and I almost lost my feet because going down, like coming down that place was super more difficult than I had first thought or imagined. And then going up, like there's a point in which you're trekking and you're not really walking, you're kind of climbing like a monkey through the rocks and everything, and then coming down was literally horrible. But it was just a great time to spend with my friends as well. So I am really happy that I got to do that, and I had the time to rest, and it was respected by my workplace, and I just couldn't be happier about that. Anyways, that's all for today. If you would like to know a little bit more about how I moved to Argentina, feel free to check out the video in the description down below, which will tell you how I moved to Argentina with $1,200. And if you made it to the end of the video and you already watched that other video, there's going to be a lot more Argentina content to come. A lot of the people who have subscribed recently have subscribed because of my Argentina video, and they have asked for more content regarding Argentina, so I will oblige. It's on its way, it's going to come. So feel free to also check out the links in the description for cool stuff that you might find useful. I hope you're doing well, and I hope that you enjoyed the video. Feel free to hit the like button if you want to support me, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye. It's not an exaggerated. We are going to talk about, I don't know.